Joining us now on the Megacast as we are now in the thick of the fall season, and so many people like to go around, see the colors, but also see a lot of Michigan's history. Here to talk about that and more is Kelly Wolgamott from Pure Michigan joining us on today's Megacast. Kelly, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate being here. And yes, Michigan has a great history. And I think it's really important that, we highlight some of those, attractions around the state that really tell that story of the people that were here before us and left us the legacy.
And some of the great history that we have, so much of it in the southeastern Michigan area and the Metro Detroit area, can be found at places like the Henry Ford Museum and, of course, Greenfield Village. Can you tell us about some of those experiences there and some of the new wrinkles that they're bringing in this season to really help people explore, particularly Southeast Michigan's history, but really the history of our entire state?
Yeah, so today I have 6 ideas for people to travel around the state, and these happen to be 6 locations that I recently visited as well. So they're fresh in my memory, and they do provide, I think, really a good snapshot of the Michigan history. And as you mentioned, the Henry Ford and Greenfield Museum, wow, what a gem and opportunity for us here in the state, right? Henry Ford was part of the curation of the original museum, and it really brings history alive. So it's not only Michigan history, but it's Americana as well. So there's, museum pieces that really educate you on the history and technology and innovation. Like, for instance, the chair Lincoln was assassinated in. How about the bus that Rosa Parks was on when she refused to give up her seat? And you can actually sit in the same seat as Rosa Parks and hear her actually talk about that experience while you're sitting in the bus. And there's, a lot of historic presidential vehicles as well in the museum. But then Greenfield Village, the historic buildings that line the streets and homes and workshops and labs, belonging to inventors like Edison and the Wright brothers. Truly a gem and great experience for all ages to go visit.
Yeah, and there's so many great activities there too. You think about also the IMAX theater that they have there is another great attraction for those that want to see some of the movies that are making history nowadays. We'd see them
Right.
in, of course, the amazing IMAX format, but also explore so much of a variety of different automotive and civil rights and all this other history that is so unique to the state of Michigan and particularly to the Metro Detroit area. They do a great job of that there at the Henry Ford. Another great place to go in Michigan, and actually it's in regions all across the state, are many of Michigan's lighthouses. Many of those
Yeah.
historic locations that have a whole great big story behind them.
Yeah, actually, lighthouse, the historic, lighthouses that dot the coastline throughout Michigan. We have the most lighthouses of any other state, and they're so fun to visit and to learn about the histories. The one that I specifically visited recently was the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, which also has a lighthouse there in Paradise, Michigan. So the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum was actually founded in 1978, but really was founded to support the exploration of historic shipwrecks in Lake Superior. And our fresh water in the state preserves the shipwrecks that we have in the Great Lakes. There's around 6,000 shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, many of them that you can see from kayaking over or taking a boat over to explore those. But this Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum is truly a gem. Abundant artifacts recovered from shipwrecks in the Great Lakes, including the bell from the 1975 wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah, and it's really interesting too to take a tour through these lighthouses. Some of them still very much active, others not active at this time, but are historical sites that you can really see some of the history behind some of these great waterways that help to build the state of Michigan. So that's a really interesting place to go as well. What are some of your other favorite historical locations in Michigan that are great to see in the fall season or are great to really explore whenever you can get there?
Okay, so I have a few more to share with you. So, from Native American history, right? Michigan, we have so much a culture of Native American history here. The Zebing Center in Mount Pleasant, such a great educational experience. The Museum and Cultural Center really provides that learning of the local American history, story, the spiritual beliefs and culture. Really a great setup and great thing to take the family through. Um, Moving up to the UP, I have a couple other spots in the UP. One would be the Quincy Mine Experience in Hancock, which is an extensive set of copper mines owned by the Quincy Mining Company. It's now a National Historic Landmark and part of the Keweenaw National Historical Park. You can walk through the shaft house built in 1908, and you can even go on an underground tour of the mine. Have you been to that, Tyler?
I've not. I've not been to that mine, but I've heard really good
You
things
need,
about it. I know
yeah,
a
you
few
need to
people
put that on your list. It's a really great experience going into the mine. There is an age limit. So please check their website prior to scheduling any travel plans. But wow, what a great experience to go into the mine. And then once you're in there, you're thinking, wow, I don't know how the miners spent their entire day underground doing this work and the service that they did. So truly amazing. And while you're in Hancock, Houghton is right there, right? They also have a really unique, I think, museum, and I honestly didn't even know it was there until recently. I had the opportunity to visit, but it's the A.E. Seaman Mineral Museum of Michigan Tech. And it really talks about the whole history of the UP, the iron industry in the museum. And it also houses 25,000 different mineral specimens from around the world in Michigan. It's really a fun and unique museum and something that is so family friendly and provides again that touch point of the Michigan history. And if you
and
don't mind, I'd like to go to Southeast Michigan again
sure,
because
absolutely.
I really think we have really a gem when it comes to Michigan history, and that's that music. And we can't,
Yeah.
not talk about Motown Museum, right? Hitsville, USA. The Motown Museum transports you back to the 1950s, learn about the iconic music history of Detroit's very own Motown style. And see how it connects to the future. You can actually go into the recording studios that Jackson 5 or Stevie Wonder stood in. It's truly a gem in talking about the history of Detroit.
We're joined by Kelly Wolgamott from Pure Michigan on today's edition of the Megacast. Of course, you can find more information on many of these historic locations and different fun and interesting things to do this fall by visiting Michigan.org. Michigan.org for more information. Kelly is the Director of Travel Marketing with Pure Michigan, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. Of course, you got all these other great common destinations here in Michigan. Of course, the city of Detroit, you mentioned, has so much great history there as well. Certainly, the DIA is a great place for art history, both in the Detroit area, but also worldwide. And then you think of some of those common locations that are great in the summer, but also great in parts of the fall as well, to see some historical landmarks such as Tequamanon Falls or Pictured Rocks or even Mackinac. And seeing really Mackinac in the fall is another great look into the works of that classic Americana small town environment before the modern age. So there's so many great places to go this fall. What are some of those hidden gems, Kelly, that you have really enjoyed going to in past falls or even past couple seasons here in Michigan that people should be putting down on their list? And maybe if they don't go this fall, they go this winter or this spring, this summer to visit some of these locations.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The one, I think the beautiful thing about the museums, right? You can visit them in any season.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a break and want to go indoors, there's that opportunity in the fall and winter times. But of course, Michigan's out about going outdoors and exploring, right? And the fall colors are still here. There's still a great opportunities to go around the state, even in just in your car, or just go visiting the local cider mill. Go pick some apples. Apples are abundant this year as well, and delicious. I've actually sampled a few, and a few cider mill donuts. And it's just a fun opportunity to get together with your family and friends and connect. And there's so many museums. I know we just touched on a few today, and there are so many other great museums to visit in the state. And we do have all of those listed, as you mentioned, on our website, Michigan.org, to help your trip planning.
Another great place to go to learn more about some of the historical markers around the state and some of these different locations that are historical sites that you can see along the way in some of the towns and the cities that you're visiting for some of these locations. And they're great resources to go to the state's website, michigan.gov MHC and then select historical markers. And it'll give you access to a map of historical markers all across the state. So you can find some of those historic lighthouses, these other locations as well. And of course, places you can go in between some of these many great locations that Kelly has talked about today. We're joined by Kelly Wolgamott, the Director of Travel Marketing for Pure Michigan on today's edition of the Megacast. Kelly, a couple more minutes with you today. Any other locations that would be interesting or activities coming up in Michigan that would be interesting for individuals or even for families to mark down and keep in mind this fall season?
Yeah, and the holiday season's right around the corner, right? And
Yeah.
looking forward, I think, you know, Michigan does that well in our small communities. And I think one of the other gems that we have in the state is Frankenmuth. And not only we have a quite of an amazing Bronner's store, Christmas store that's open, 363 days a year. But during the holidays, Frankenmuth transforms into a Christmas town. So they've made a great effort of additional decorating throughout the town, lining their already adorable Bavarian style town and providing just a relaxing opportunity to go shopping, to go have some great food, and enjoy that time with your family. So I think there's also tons of events this fall. Events have come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think people have missed so much is going to these wonderful events that we have throughout the state. And we have a number of events highlighted on Michigan.org. You can actually filter that by the date that you want to go and look around the state to see what's available. A great resource for everyone.
Your trip always begins at Michigan.org. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.